We're at the Cotton Bowl. It's about an hour after this one wrapped up. Another epic Texas OU matchup alongside Chris Tavares. I'm Roger Wallace. Longhorns fall 55-48. You think back to last year, 4 overtimes, you say, well, not going to see anything like that. And then you almost had a walk-off touchdown, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I don't even think OU was planning on scoring on that, just trying to get a little better field position so that way it wouldn't have to be a 50-yard field goal to win it, and then break one off for a 33-yard touchdown. A 21-point halftime lead, or a 21-point lead in the first half, 18-point halftime lead, 18-point lead in the third quarter, and Texas sees it all just slip away. And the entire time, the entire third quarter, I was saying to the guys down on the field with me shooting, OU's just cutting it back, cutting little by little, and you felt like the momentum was shifting. Texas was still up 3 scores at one point at 18, but OU just kept those field goals, just kept getting at them, and then they were able to turn those into touchdowns, and Texas really didn't appear to have an answer for most of the entire second half until that touchdown late in the fourth quarter, but then OU answered with a 33-yard game winner.
You know, it's a little bit of irony because one of Sark's big concerns has been not being able to connect on the big play, especially over the top. Well, they did that, but they couldn't get back to their identity of being a smash-mouth, power-running team. They couldn't eat any clock today.
No, and you could tell there were, when Texas, I think, was up 21 points in the first half, you could tell they were saying, okay, let's get Bijan in rhythm, because there was a drive or two where Texas was just feeding him, and he still finished with over 100 yards, over 20 carries, if I'm remembering correctly, but just you never felt like he was able to bust a big one, like he was in control like you've seen in other games, and it had to be on Casey Thompson, and he was playing hurt. They confirmed in postgame that he had an issue with his thumb on his throwing hand. His O-line, the protection just looked like it dissolved in the second half, and Texas just wasn't able to get anything. Steve Sarkisian said in postgame, couldn't get any first downs, and kept getting in third longs, and it kept adding up on us, and then that turnover on the kick return, that fumble, set up the short field for Oklahoma to take the lead, and Texas was playing catch-up from then on.
Yeah, a few things to go back on what you said. Bijan, 2 carries, 83 yards, 18 carries, around 54 yards.
Yeah.
So that's different than all season. He couldn't grind out 4, 5, 6 yards a carry, couldn't eat any clock, couldn't have any long drives. And then they had pretty much conceded the kickoffs. And then they got the line drive down at this end in the south end zone, and Deshaun Jameson brought it out, didn't get it to the 20. Now they're back in the north end zone, and Xavier Worthy wants to make a play, but he's in the end zone and decides to bring it out. So you're thinking, okay, he's not even going to get to the 25. That's bad enough. And then lo and behold, it gets stripped right out of his hands, and obviously that was a huge swing.
Yeah, I don't know what it was like for you up in the booth, but down on the field, you could feel the momentum shifting, like I said, and as soon as he started taking that out, I just had this feeling this does not seem like a good idea for Texas, and it turned into a fumble. I don't know what he was thinking, if he was trying to force it. Sarkisian was really happy with the way he was able to bounce back, because he had that game-tying touchdown catch in the south end zone, but just an inexplicable decision that I'm not going to say that cost the game by any means, because that touchdown at the end, but just certainly one of the turning points of it.
He had 9 catches for 261. So, yeah, that was the downside in that one. And defensively, my goodness, they force Lincoln Riley for the second straight year in this game to give Spencer Rattler the hook. Now, he came back in last year. They go with the freshman Caleb Williams, and that guy was growing up before our eyes, and he was fearless out there today.
Yeah, I had to ask, did Rattler get benched or was he hurt? Because Williams was out and playing fantastic. And Rattler looked like he was in for the 2-point conversion, and I don't know what was going on with that. It obviously worked. They got the 2-point conversion to tie it up. But Caleb Williams, none of the DeMarvion Overshone in post, he was the only guy from the defense that we got to talk to, said that didn't change the game plan, but he certainly provided a spark that, kind of like what you saw with Casey Thompson with Texas during that 3-game winning streak, he provided a spark for Texas. Caleb Williams did the same for Oklahoma today. Once he came in, you just saw them start chopping away at that Texas lead and led them on the come-from-behind win. Yeah,
and honestly, he threw some 50-50 balls that his guys came up with, and Sark talked about that to us on the radio afterwards, is they got the 50-50 balls. They got, within inches of being inbounds. Marcus Washington an inch from being out of bounds. And again, there's a lot of football that happens, so you're going to have plays. The strip, Deshaun Jameson, knee just down before the strip. But it just seems like in this game, those are the things that sway this thing. And again, you haven't been here in a couple of years. Last year, very little media and very little fans. This place must have been insane because it was a hot, sunny day. And again, momentum swings back and forth.
That was one of the questions that I asked Sarkisian, because this was his first time in this game, in this atmosphere, and he said there were times, especially in the third quarter when Oklahoma was stealing all that momentum, he said it felt like we were in a road game when we were down on this end and in third and longs, and you could feel it. And I'm down here shooting, and you see all along the lower bowl, the OU fans are going crazy, jumping up and down. They're having a party, and then over here the Texas fans are just shell-shocked. I mean, they're thinking we had a 21-point lead. What the heck happened? And it's what is so it defines this game, those momentum shifts. And then when Texas tied it up, you felt like Texas was stealing some of that momentum back, but the OU fans were still into it, and this place was just up for grabs because it was both sides are just all in and feeling it. And and Sarkisian said that Texas felt that, and that is something that he said they're going to have to work on, the mentality and the way they approach the game to not let that affect them. Some of the players said that, the momentum we didn't notice it. You were trying to stay positive. Bijan Robinson, who's always ever the optimist, said, we were positive. We didn't let it affect us. But Sarkisian felt like the momentum shifts definitely did, and that's something that he's going to work on. But almost Sarkisian certainly, and then all the players we talked to talked about wanting to see OU again in Arlington for the Big 12 championship. They know that this is their first Big 12 loss. They are still in the driver's seat in terms of getting to the Big 12 championship game, and they didn't make any qualms about it. That is their stated definitive goal from this point on.
The term you hate, to control their own destiny?
Because it's not. If it was destiny, you couldn't control it. Control their own future.
All right. Can't give up 660 yards of offense, and it was balanced almost right down the middle, over 300 rushing. Kennedy Brooks just killed him today, and then Caleb Williams. And you think about that final drive, it's 3rd and 1, and Brooks, if he gets a first down with 3 or 4 yards, clock's rolling. You don't know if Lincoln Riley's still going to want Caleb Williams putting the ball in the air, but he busts off 15 to midfield. Well, now Gabe Burchett's one of the best field goal kickers in the country, so you're already close to field goal range. They were in field goal range on that last play, and then they got at him on that counter that killed Texas all game.
The plays that helped set them up to get to the 33-yard line were just like so much of what you saw in the second half. Broken plays that Caleb Williams was able to get the ball off the ground on a bad snap, scramble, and somehow complete it. They did that at least twice. You saw Caleb Williams make things happen with his legs to keep a play alive on what would have been a broken play, and Sarkisian said that was one of the things that just absolutely killed Texas. The defense just they forced 2 turnovers, almost had that third one down there, but it just wasn't enough, and that speaks volumes about the defense when you're able to win the turnover battle and you still give up that many yards and end up losing the game, including blowing a 21-point first half lead, 18-point second half lead.
Like that, I'm directing traffic while
we're doing it all down here.
You guys working hard. I'm not going to make them wait on us. All right, take off your media journalist hat, put on your Longhorn fan hat for a second. Give me a sense, to the best of your ability, because not all losses are the same with this program, and not all Texas OU losses are the same, but I'm curious what you think Texas fans are thinking.
Well, I could tell you what Texas fans are thinking, because in my friend group I have 258 missed texts.
Well, it was a 9-hour game, so you're going to get a lot.
But I think this was just an absolutely gutting loss because of the way it happened. You saw it happen in slow motion throughout the entire second half, and then you get that glimmer of hope where you tied it. But I don't think anybody fully bought, okay, here it is, we're back. If you're a Texas fan, when Texas tied it up, we were down here talking, do you go for the PAT or do you go for 2? And you go for 2, you're kind of conceding, we don't think we can stop them. We think maybe they're the better team today. If you go for 1, I felt like Sarkisian did the right play by going for 1, and in the end it ended up not mattering. But given how much time was left, 83 seconds, I think, I felt kick the PAT, see if you can make something happen. But I think this one, because of who it is and because of how it happened, is just absolutely gutting for Texas. If you're not a nihilist, you can see some positives with the offense. Able to connect on the deep ball. Casey Thompson looked better. You're a little concerned about his thumb. Bijan Robinson, you're a little concerned. But I think you can still be optimistic, but losing to Oklahoma, losing the way you did, I think right now Texas fans are feeling pretty low.
Yeah, and I'll flip it to you and say, regardless of what happened here, they got an undefeated team in Stillwater that's off this week that's going to join them in Austin. And I always say, I think this game more than any other, you don't put any stock after or before it because it's kind of in its own little world. But even Sark said, I mean, we can't afford to lose two before that open week. So obviously next Saturday at Royal Texas Memorial Stadium, pretty pivotal game if they want to get to Arlington.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're still in the driver's seat. Just one loss in Big 12 play. You got OK State, and then you got to figure, looking down the road, that road trip to West Virginia in November is going to be tough, and you still have to go to Iowa State. Who knows exactly what Iowa State is this year? Obviously, they're not the top 10 team that everybody thought going into the season, but you still have some tough tests that you have to get through. Baylor, you know, they were ranked in the top 25 up until this week.
Yeah, they rolled West Virginia today.
Okay, so, and I had no idea.
You're in your vacuum down here.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got three really big tests, I think, but it starts next week with Oklahoma State, and they're not a bad team. They're going to come in top 25 ranking. One of the key stats during the Mac Brown era was his record after the OU game. Obviously, this is Steve Sarkisian's first one. How you bounce back from that, from the emotional toll this takes, winning or losing, is going to be huge for his tenure, and it starts next week against the Pokes.
Yeah, last time Texas beat OU, they turn around and beat them in Arlington for the Big 12 championship. That'll wrap it up. A hot, sunny Cotton Bowl, another classic Texas OU game, the 117th edition. For Chris, I'm Roger. Thanks for joining us.